some resources that will help you understand what we know about research on early young children in STEM. And so the first web resource that you can download is America's Children Providing Early Exposure to STEM. And it'll help you give a bit of an overview of what we know. First, there are benefits to investing early. We get a longer return on early investments with young children, and they get more benefit from it because they're using it throughout their whole life cycle. So those are some important things to think about when we're focusing on young children. We also know that early exposure to STEM has a positive impact on youth, and it can impact their preconceptions, their dispositions towards STEM. And by capturing their interest and their engagement early, we can keep them on track, engaged through middle school and high school, so that they're prepared as college learners or high school learners to engage with STEM. So our goal with young learners is to get them actively engaged, to give them a positive experience that's going to give them a good disposition towards STEM, and to get them excited about learning and knowing that they can be confident learners. So that's just a few highlights that I want you to take away from this and think about how to engage with our younger learners. As we usually try to do in our webinars, we want to start by knowing what you know about our topic. So I'm going to pull up a couple of chat pods, and I want you to share some ideas about what active learning looks like. We always learn so much from each other. So when youth engage in active STEM learning, one of the things that happens is that they start generating knowledge. They're not just receiving knowledge or following what they've been told or following a procedure, but they start generating their own knowledge, and that's one of our goals with active STEM learning. The reason this is important is because as youth generate their own knowledge, they learn and retain more from that experience. So as we help staff develop this skill to learn and recognize curiosity and use it to enhance learning, we're really helping them facilitate learning experiences that bring a deeper, more important learning to youth. And as Tamika said, the STEM skills and the content areas apply across all the different content areas. And being able to use that skill gives them a more meaningful, deeper learning experience. That may not be the goal, especially when you're working with younger students, that the content is the most important. It really may be about curiosity and engagement and seeing themselves as learners. Those are really important outcomes and ones that I truly value for after school. But as learners get deeper into that content, it's still they experience it differently and they retain it, and they will be able to better apply it in the future. So this active STEM learning environment, as several people have pointed out, it can be unpredictable, a little messy, maybe a bit concerning for some staff that like to keep things under control. But the outcomes can be really important. So it's important that we help staff understand what this environment looks like, but also why it's important, so why we want them to put forth the effort to engage in creating this environment, even if things can be a bit intimidating because it's kind of unpredictable, they don't know quite what to expect, and they may feel like they're losing a little bit of control. So those are some of the concerns that are often expressed with active learning. We don't want to minimize those concerns, but what we want to do is provide support to help them get past those concerns and understand that they're creating a richer, stronger learning experience that's going to last longer. Youth will be able to apply those skills in more situations, apply their content in different ways because they had that active learning experience. So we're really hoping to help staff develop some skills that they can use to help learners connect to their own ideas and experiences, to lead discussions that really engage youth, and to lead activities that engage them physically and emotionally and mentally in that learning experience. That's kind of an overview of the skill, embracing active STEM learning. I'll give you a moment in the main chat box if you have any questions about that skill. But we're going to have some opportunities to see the skill in action as well, and to do a little bit of playing around with some Glurch and Oobleck. As we see this skill in action, we're going to be looking at Diane leading a group of youth through the activity of creating their own Glurch and Oobleck and experimenting with it. So, have any of you ever played with these substances? Have you heard of them? What are your thoughts? I'm going to start with just a little bit of background of what these substances are, so when you get to the video, it's not quite so confusing, and it gives me a chance to get the webcam out again too. So give me a moment to pull that up. Okay, hopefully you can see me again and hear me as well. So Glurch and Oobleck is a chance to explore what is called a non-Newtonian fluid. A Newtonian fluid is kind of a typical fluid, honey or water, that behaves in the way we expect a fluid to behave. It doesn't go too far. Glurch and Oobleck don't necessarily behave in quite the same way. In some ways they're like a fluid, and in some ways they're not. There is a video on the web resources, Science Man Physics, and it's a good kind of overview of the science part of the non-Newtonian fluids. There's also an activity on Click to Science where you can you can print out the Glurch versus Oobleck activity, and it has some really good background, so it gives you some of that information about how they work. But I did want to show you because it's something that you really have to see it, I feel like, in order for it to make sense. So this, in my hands here, Glurch, and it's kind of like a putty. And you can kind of see that if I just, here, I'm just going to keep my hand in one place and grab the ruler. And what we want to do is just see, it's a solid, and I'm holding in my hand, but as it goes, I think you will see, probably don't want it touching the ruler, that it's kind of dripping. It's moving. It is not just solid. It is moving a little bit, and it can do some really interesting things. It's fun to play with. It feels a little bit like silly putty. And of course, it is something you can have the kids mix up themselves. The ingredients are safe and easy to use. And this is called Glurch. And it is something that looks like a solid, but behaves in some ways like a liquid because it's sliding down. Actually, in fact, I suppose a glass window does this a little bit too. One of the things in an older house, you'll see the glass is kind of thicker at the bottom because over time the glass does slide down. It drips a little bit toward the bottom. And that's what's happening here with the Oobleck, probably pretty slowly in front of your camera, but it is moving down, dripping a little bit further out of my hand. Fun to play with, very sensory. This is Oobleck. It's the one that's a little bit messier. I heard at the National Week of Making, they're going to have a 25-foot long trough of Oobleck that you can walk through. Now here, You can see that it is moving very quickly out of my hand and getting all over the desk, of course. But let's see if I can get it back in my hand. If I put a little bit of pressure on this, it is very solid. And that's what I wanted to show you. As we watch the video, I have some questions for you to think about. What are the children doing in the video? How are they using their senses? So pay attention to what they're doing. Diane is the one who's facilitating the activity. Pay attention to what she's doing. Pay attention to her verbal and her nonverbal communication and how she uses that to encourage the students to engage. So there's a few things to think about. I'll type those in the chat box as I get the video started.
You guys are going to make glurch at this end of the table. You guys are going to make oobleck at this end of the table.
STEM activities are engaging, interactive, and hands-on experiences for youth. In this video, pay close attention to how the adult, Diane, reacts to the messiness of the activity and supports children's natural curiosities and interests in positive ways throughout this learning experience.
You guys made perfect oobleck. I want you guys to take a look at this. What do you notice?
That it's softer. It feels sticky. Oh my gosh, look at it. It's like slime. It will melt. It looks like pretty much like flour.
What do you think will happen if we get in and go like that?
Got it? Whoa, go ahead. Sticky to me.
What does it feel like?
It's like gooey. It's like bubble gum.
Yours is also a chemical reaction. Sometimes it's a solid. See there? I can make it solid, but I can also make it liquid, can't I?
Comments from you about the video? About some of the things you observed, and use the main chat box for this discussion, but I want to know, what did you notice in the video? What were the children doing? We saw them interacting. Were they active? What clues did you have that they were being active learners? Did you notice ways that Diane was using nonverbal as well as verbal behavior to engage youth and get their thoughts going, their senses going as she was leading? This is an activity that's really, I think, appropriate for younger learners, not necessarily an activity that I would use with older students, but there may be some things about how the activity was facilitated that might be appropriate for older students as well. But this one I think is very appropriate, very focused on the senses, and really designed for those younger students. And that's kind of our goal with this activity, to see how you can use that to engage students. So we've kind of talked a little bit about what this skill is and what it looks like in action. Now we're going to think about how you can use this, the resources we're sharing here on the webinar, with your own staff to help them develop the skill. Because that's really our focus here, is what do we want our staff to know and be able to do with this skill? How can they take these pieces and put them together to build really effective learning experiences for youth? That's what we're going to talk about for a few minutes now, and that's really what I feel like is the most important part of the webinar. Really, how do we make this happen for staff and build their skills? So our model with Click to Science is really pretty simple. We provide tools and resources so that you can help your staff see the skill in action. That's one of the things we feel like the videos are very important to give you that opportunity to see that skill. And we also share other videos like the Science Man video so that you can make those connections too. We know that seeing it is really helpful for staff. The next thing that is probably even more important than seeing it in action is for them to have an opportunity to discuss it together, to talk about it together themselves as a team, and also to talk about it with you as their trainer or their director or other experts that you bring in to really help facilitate these learning experiences to help them develop their skills. We also think it's very important that they're able to experience a skill, and that's what the training resources are really designed to do on the Click to Science website. Those are the resources that you have to take a little bit more time for because you're going to have a chance for staff to do something, to have that experience. So oftentimes an experience leading an activity that they might then do with youth that helps them understand the skill, just like we're talking about with our younger learners, by engaging in it, by engaging their body, engaging their senses. When they experience the skill, it's a little bit deeper than just watching it and discussing it. And then finally, we want them to have the tools that they can use so that they can apply the skill with youth. So I hope we've been able to kind of set a context here of what this skill is and how we want them to apply it. So let's look at what that might look like using a Click to Science resource. So these are the steps that we just talked about. We're going to see the skill in action in a brief meeting using this resource. We'll discuss it. This one does not have time for them to experience the skill because it is just a 15 or 20-minute discussion, probably about 15. But it does include an opportunity for them to apply it with you. So they're going to, in this workshop, or this staff meeting, spend a little bit of time thinking about the skill, seeing the video, reflecting on it together as a group, checking their own understanding of what this skill is, and there's a checklist in the resource you can use with them, and then doing some planning of how they could plan an active learning experience that they would actually go and lead with youth. Now, what I want to hear from you, again, using our chat box, is what would it look like in your program if your staff were really good at this skill? Are your staff really good at engaging youth? If they are, share with us. What does it look like? Look like when staff are good at actively engaging youth? About how we can use these resources with staff. So at Click to Science, we have a variety of resources that you can use so that you can be flexible in how you prepare your staff. We have coaching resources that are designed to be used one-on-one with individual staff members to develop particular skills that they're working on. Those usually take 15 to 30-minute sessions to just work through some thoughts and some planning with a staff member. We also have experiences like the How Do I Develop an Activity that are designed to be short, a brief opportunity to see it, to discuss it, and to think about how to apply a skill. The training resources are longer. That's where you get an opportunity to experience it as part of that process too. There is really no secret formula on how these pieces fit together because they need to be designed in a way that meets the needs of your staff and your program. We do consult with individual programs or networks to help them develop a training plan that fits their specific needs because there really is no way to say this is the one thing that's going to work for you. The key to developing an effective plan using Click to Science is that it is an overall plan of what you're trying to accomplish with professional development and the resources that fit into your program and the structure and the way that you need your program to develop. We want to incorporate an individual program's or network's purpose, their goals, and their needs as we develop a training plan to work with them. And we're happy to help you think through this process for your own staff locally as well if that would be helpful for you. the key is to design a plan, not just one or two experiences, but really to have a plan that connects those experiences together. I think one of the greatest challenges when you're providing training for your staff, and we'll give this to you as feedback to think about as you're developing that plan, is what does that apply it look like, and how will you know that they've applied it? How will they know that they've applied it? What accountability can you build in around that? Because that's where it makes the most difference. Staff get better at facilitating STEM with youth as they're working directly with youth. So it's really crucial to think about that step of how they're going to apply it, how you're going to support them in applying it, and how everyone's going to know that they've been successful in being able to do that. As we said, there's a variety of resources, and we're happy to talk with you if there's specific needs or values that you would like to have for your staff, or you're thinking about you'd like to be able to use these resources but you're not quite sure how to get started. We are happy to provide some support for that. And here's some contact information so that you can follow up with us. We are going to be taking a break from Wednesday webinars over the summer. So right now our next Wednesday webinar is scheduled for September 7th. And we're going to be focusing on documenting STEM learning and using science journals. I'm really looking forward to that one in September. Watch your email, though, because we may decide to add another one in late August. So just kind of watch for those announcements from Click to Science, or also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Pinterest so that you can know what's happening in the moment, since we won't be having our monthly webinars for a couple months.